Hey guys, welcome to FinVies. We've seen plenty of instances of scams and frauds, but what if the very same financial organizations we trust in our money wind up perpetuating some of the greatest frauds of all time? It's not pleasant to think about, but it's a matter of life now. So don't get me wrong. Not all banks are bad, but some of the biggest financial institutions are no stranger to delusion. We'll look into some of the biggest bank-made frauds ever. Fake account scandal. Wells Fargo, the third largest bank in the United States, ruined their reputation in one big catastrophe. Wells Fargo traded its hard-earned reputation for short-term profits and scammed an untold number of customers. It all started when Wells Fargo executives wanted their staff to meet aggressive sales targets in the financial products business such as mortgages and credit cards. Wells Fargo employees created millions of savings and checking accounts for customers without their knowledge or approval. They used their own contact information on forms to stop customers from discovering the scam. They set PIN numbers to 0000, and the bankers had full control of the accounts. Eventually, customers noticed something strange. They questioned the additional fees on accounts that they didn't ask, or didn't even realize they owned. In 2016, government regulatory agencies fined the bank a combined $185 million. Wells Fargo subsequently dealt with civil and criminal lawsuits and paid out $2.7 billion. Libre rigging. The Libre scandal was probably one of the biggest financial scams that you've ever heard of. The Libre worked in a way where each bank had to estimate how much interest they'd have to pay to borrow cash. Then the rates from all the banks were averaged. That's the Libre rate. In total, the Libre rate itself underpins $350 trillion worth of assets. By manipulating the Libre, the traders in question were inherently causing a cascade of mispriced financial assets throughout the entire global financial system. The fraud also impacted corporations and individuals who had loans based on the Libre. Deutsche Bank was one of the biggest participants in the fraud. They were fined $1.74 billion. Ann's Bank in Australia, Barclays Bank in the UK, Royal Bank of Scotland were some of the other banks involved. The fines offered were nothing compared to the money they made. Gold and silver market rigging. In 1974, the futures markets began trading in the gold and silver market. As time went on, more and more futures contracts were created at will, essentially increasing the virtual supply of gold and silver, when in reality, no new metal was ever mined. In fact, the price and the amount of gold and silver traded had very little to do with the underlying supply of metals. This system was ripe to abuse. In 2018, more imaginary gold and silver was traded in a few days than was actually mined in an entire year. Between 2008 and 2016, JP Morgan engaged in a practice that manipulated the price of gold and silver. What they were doing was something called spoofing. The manipulative practice was designed to create the illusion of demand, or a lack of thereof. The goal of spoofing is to move the market prices in a way that financially benefits the bank. In 2013, financial whistleblower Andrew Maguire described how mysterious traders allegedly worked for JP Morgan. In 2019, JP Morgan was accused of being a criminal enterprise by a federal prosecutor for the rigging of the gold and silver market. In September of 2020, the Department of Justice issued a $920 million fine for the rigging. In reality, they could be potentially earning trillions. So ultimately, these fines are just the cost of doing business, and the practice still continues to this day. ETN Scandal. This is one of the largest financial scams of all time. This is still ongoing, and has flown under the radar of the general public. It begins with a class of products called Exchange Traded Note, ETN. ETNs have proven extremely risky for the buyers while the bank makes a profit. Banks such as UBS Group, Citigroup, and Credit Suisse were all a part of this scam. According to SEC, ETNs are unsecured debt obligations. This means that they aren't backed by any underlying asset, and ETN is basically a figment of imagination by Wall Street financial engineers. When the price of ETNs goes down, banks gain in the profit sheet. In 2018, ETN exploded the Credit Suisse reverse, hurting the investors but leaving the bank unscathed. After much controversy, Credit Suisse delisted their UGAS ETN in July 2020. In 2020, 2 complaints were submitted to the SEC, but these complaints progressed slowly and took years to play out. Knowing that the banks are cheating and rigging their way at the expense of their customers isn't new, but seeing the extent that some institutions go to is staggering. We didn't even touch on the derivative bets that went wrong. That made America turn into a global financial issue, or the 2019 rigging of the currency exchange market that involved 11 banks. Is there a lesson to be learned from this story? Yes. Always invest with care and diversification. Maintaining a well-diversified portfolio will ensure that events like these do not throw you off course, but rather serve as speed bumps on the way to financial freedom. That's it for the day. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you are new to the channel, please like, subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon for more interesting videos.